Okay, so before we get into today's video, I do just want to say that the regular autism content is going to be resuming from Tuesday of next week, but I just wanted to get this video out quickly first. Of course, I wasn't planning on making this video originally until after what happened on Saturday, but after all the events that unfolded, I feel like I needed to say something on it, since I'm not sure how many other people would. And of course, some people have spoken on it. Like, I know Mini Minter has spoken on this. I know KSI has spoken on this. Like, they've said their piece on the whole event. But at the same time, I feel like it'll be a whole different perspective from someone who was like part of the crowd. Just someone who was just in general seating. So I'm going to take you through the whole experience from start to finish and talk about all the stuff that could have been organised better, all the stuff that they could have done differently to make the event better, because at the end of the day they fell completely short. And I understand that this was Showstar's first event, but some of the stuff that happened is just unforgivable almost. So we'll start at the beginning. So me and Jaden, we turned up to the arena about an hour early, so an hour before the doors are due to open. And we went to join the queue, and of course Jaden had a bag with him. And bags aren't allowed in the arena. I knew this because when I went to see KSI at the OVO Arena, I got sent an email with like requirements of how big bags could be. So you could take bags in as long as they're smaller than a certain size. Like, they sent me that in an email for the KSI show. And of course I knew this, but yeah, this time around they didn't send out any email regarding a bag size requirements. So how were people meant to know that bags could only be a certain size if they aren't telling people this? Like, the only reason I knew is because of the KSI show. So how were people who haven't been to the arena before or haven't been to the KSI show, how are they meant to know about these requirements? Like, they're not, but they're still expected to in a way. But yeah, so we arrived, and of course we had to leave the bag somewhere. So the steward slash security slash whatever you want to call them, they were like, okay, yep, head down to Premier Inn, and just ask them to store it away for you. So luckily we knew where Premier Inn was. It was literally just down the road. So we headed down to the Premier Inn, and the poor man in reception there, he must have been having a very stressful evening, because clearly there's some miscommunication going on between the OVO Arena and the Premier Inn. Because what was meant to happen is the arena was meant to tell us to download an app, and then through the app we can almost book a slot in the Premier Inn to keep our bags in there. But because the OVO Arena didn't tell us this poor receptionist at the hotel had to explain to us that we have to download this app and get it booked in and everything. And of course there was just so many people trying to get in at once, like none of which had a booking in the first place. So he had to sort all of that out. But yeah, once we got that out of the way, it was nice and quick. We headed back to the arena. In the end, it was half an hour later. It took quite a while, but of course the bag was sorted at least. So we got to the arena. We stood in the queue for about half an hour. I'm not going to complain about a queue. Like, of course there was going to be a queue. I've not got any complaints there. We got to the front, and we had to go through obviously the sort of like metal detector area where they just check if you've got anything on you. And I put my bag in a little tray. And of course, because my allergies, I've got my EpiPens in my little bag. They weren't big fans of me taking my EpiPens in, but I'm like, at the end of the day, I've got to have them with me. But they were a bit suspicious. But I was like, oh, well, I'm taking them in whether you like it or not. I did say that to them, but that's what I was thinking. But yeah, they let me take them in the end. And then we were like, okay, so where do we go next? Because we weren't given any instructions. So we just sort of pointed in a direction. We weren't told where to go. We just sort of pointed. So we just sort of wandered around the arena until we found the right door. Because luckily on our tickets, it had the right door. So we eventually got to the right door, and we got to our seats and everything as well. And of course, we were the front row of the general seating. So you've got all the general seating, and then in front of that, you've got VIP ringside, which is like where friends and family of the fighters were sitting. So of course, we didn't have VIP, but we were sitting just behind that in the front row of general seating. So of course, the tickets were still good tickets, and they were still quite expensive. And yeah, the event starts, and the first couple of fights were really good. Like, me and Jaden were having a good time. We had a nice, good view. We saw so many people there that we recognised, so many like YouTubers and content creators and celebrities and that kind of thing. We met Anthony Joshua. That was really cool. We got a photo with him. And yeah, the first couple of fights were, I mean, they weren't the best fights in the world by any means, but they were entertaining, and we had a good view. But as the event went on was where it got a little bit more messy. So to start off with, we were front row of general seating, and we had about a meter's gap, if that, in between us and the barrier in front of us that was separating us from the VIP ringside seating. So it was a big enough gap for people to come and stand right in front of us. People that probably had seats 20 rows behind us that paid a quarter of the price, coming round in front of us and just standing there so we couldn't see anything. Our feet were getting trodden on at times, we're getting pushed past, and we were like, okay, well, why is this happening? Like the security / steward, I'm going to refer to him as security for the purpose of this video, they did nothing about it. So we just had these people standing in front of us. And it got to the point where we were like, okay, well, why don't we just stand up as well then? Because if we're paying for these tickets, we need to be able to see. And since all these people that have obviously come from behind us are standing in front of us now, why can't we stand up as well? So it got to the point where we stood up as well. And then the ring announcer, he started telling everyone to sit down. Like after every fight or before every fight, he was saying, right, we can't continue the event until everyone sits down. So it gets to the point where everyone sits down for about 2 minutes. And it just goes back to the same problem again. And once again, security did nothing. No matter how many times the ring announcer said, we need to get everyone to sit down, otherwise we can't continue the event. Stewards did nothing. They just stood there for the whole time. It was completely ridiculous, and considering we had front row seats of general seating and still had people standing up in front of us was stupid. Like, at the end of the day, if everyone just sat down, everyone would be able to see, no matter where you're sitting. If we all sat down, everyone would be able to see. By standing up, you're just causing an issue for everyone else. But yeah, it eventually got a bit more settled, and everyone was sitting down until it came to the King Kenny face Temper fight. And that's when everyone started standing up again, and like everyone in ringside was standing up as well. Once again, security did nothing, so we had to stand up as well. But then the ring announcer, he suddenly got a bit more serious about it, and he was like, we are not continuing the event until everyone sits down. So it got to a point where everyone in general seating started to have a little bit of respect to sitting down. Because before that, it was getting to a point where me and Jaden and other people of the crowd sitting in the seats we were sitting in were having to ask people, please just move. Like, please, we're trying to watch the event as well. If you go back to your seat, you can see as well. Like, by doing this, you're blocking everyone else's view and you're ruining it and you're just not showing any respect. And me and Jaden shouldn't have been the ones having to say that to these people. It should have been security, but they were doing nothing, so why were we the ones having to do it? But yeah, anyway, it got to the King Kenny face Temper fight, and everyone calmed down a little bit, but everyone in ringside was standing up, and the ring announcer did nothing about this. Actually, no, he did. He told them to sit down. But security, once again, did nothing. So there were, of course, these 3, 4, 5 rows of people in front of us now, where everyone was standing up. So no one in the floor seating behind them could see anything, because literally everyone's standing up. And I get that you're VIP, but at the end of the day, if you're standing up, no one else can see. So yeah, for the last couple of fights, we could see next to nothing. It was completely ridiculous, and we sort of just accepted it. Before the Deji fight, it got to a point where we were like, right, we need, we pay to watch this fight. We're going to watch this fight. So we stood up as well. I'm like, we maybe shouldn't have stood up. But at the same time, everyone in front of us was standing up, and if security was doing nothing about it, we asked security to do something about it. We were like, we've paid for these seats, please just get them to sit down, that's all you need to do. We tried to get security to do something about it, they didn't do anything, so we're like, okay, we're going to stand up as well then, because, we need to see. So we stood up as well, and we could kind of see, not amazingly, but it got to the point where security was swearing at us, security was threatening us to kick us out of the arena. And when we were like, well, how is it fair that these people in front of us are allowed to stand up, but we're not allowed to? Because we paid good money for these tickets, so surely we should at least be able to see. Once again, security were just swearing at us and everything. And it got to the point where we're like, okay, we'll just sit down and we'll not watch the fight then. Like, that's how it is. And yeah, of course, the security were awful throughout the whole fight. Like, you would have heard this mentioned from other people. I could have easily climbed over the little barrier separating us from VIP and ran straight into the ring, like, easily. And that happened during the Deji fight. Not me, but some other member of the crowd, probably from like 50 rows back, managed to get into VIP ringside and managed to get into the ring. And that just shows how little security there was, because anyone could have easily done this. There was no security at all around the ring. There was no security stopping people from jumping over the barriers. There was literally people right next to us that were able to jump over the barriers and get into VIP ringside, which just shows this that the staff here were awful. The security was awful, the organisation was awful, the whole event was just extremely poorly run, and it almost puts me off going to boxing events again in the future. Of course, I've tried to get in contact with Ticketmaster, just asking them a little bit about it, but they don't do refunds or anything for events that have happened in the past. So I was like, okay, well my next port of call is to get in contact with Showstar. Showstar have no way of contacting them, which it just doesn't make them look good. But they literally have no email anywhere. They have no form of contact, so it just doesn't come across as very professional. There were so many problems with the event. I feel like I've probably forgotten quite a few problems, but at the end of the day, if we're paying money to sit in good seats, or even if we're not paying money to sit in good seats, even if we're sitting in slightly worse seats, we shouldn't have people standing in front of us. We shouldn't have people pushing us out the way. We shouldn't have people standing on our feet. We shouldn't have security threatening to kick us out when we've done nothing wrong. And we shouldn't have security swearing at us. Like, it's just one of the worst events I've ever been to. Like, the fighting, at the end of the day, the fighters did well. You know, they did what they were meant to do. But the rest of it was completely lackluster. And if Showstar ever puts on an event again, they need to make sure this is sorted out, because I know that there's so many other companies out there that would have done so much better than this. And I know it's the same problem with Social Gloves. Like, Social Gloves, I can't even remember what fight that was for now. I think that was for the TikTok versus YouTube fight. Social Gloves, their event was really poorly run as well. And I didn't think anything could get worse than this, or could get worse than that. But this was worse than that. So yeah, I really just wanted to let you guys know how poorly this event was run, because it may not have came across properly whilst if you're watching the pay-per-view at home. Like, you wouldn't have been able to see all of this. I just wanted to give it to you from a crowd perspective, rather than someone that was sitting in VIP ringside, because I feel like it's almost two completely different stories, because there's the whole lead up to it as well. So yeah, that organisation was just awful, and I don't know how they're getting away with it. But yeah, guys, sorry for ranting, but I just needed to let people know the truth. Thank you guys so much for watching. As mentioned, the autism content will be back next week. Leave a like, turn notification bell on so you never miss an upload, and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one.